Welcome, Tapan Mishra ji. You're most welcome on this channel. And first of all, I would like to welcome you. You are an eminent space scientist, and you are also a student of history, and you have very closely watched the evolution of man. You have studied space science. You have contributed immensely in the progress of all our efforts in the space sector. You have the honor of, you are also considered the father of synthetic aperture radar, which is the basis of NISAR, the collaboration between India and ISRO and NASA when it comes to the final frontiers of radar technology. And it was a good experience talking to you earlier on spirituality, on Sanatan Dharma, its roots, and the strength of the Sanatan philosophy. And that prompted me to ask you whether or not you would be able to discuss this on our channel. And you were gracious enough and kind enough to agree to my request. You're most welcome. Good afternoon,
Thank
Tapanji.
you. Thank you, Lalit Shastriji.
Tapanji, I would like to ask you a small question, and I'm sure I'll get a big answer from your side. An answer rooted in history, an answer rooted in the knowledge and philosophy of this our land, that is Bharatvarsh. I want to ask you, how come the Sanatan Dharma continues to have strong roots in the Indian subcontinent, not only in India, across the world? And what do you think is the strength of Sanatan Dharma? When I say Sanatan Dharma, the very name connotes, the meaning of Sanatan means that which has no beginning and no end. Sanatan is infinite, and Dharma is not just religion. You can't translate Dharma into religion because Dharma is a complex whole. It includes the philosophy of life. It shows us the path, the way that we have to follow. And as I just said, that Sanatan has no beginning, no end. And that's where we have our Vedas, the Upanishads, the Purans, the Dharma Granthas, and all the knowledge that Sanatan Dharma encompasses. Tell me, how come the Sanatan Dharma has such strong roots despite 1,000 years of invasions, genocide, massacre, destruction of temples, and all that was a connotation of Sanatan Dharma. So much has happened in between. We have the burning and the destruction of Takshashila, Nalanda, the great universities in ancient India. I would like to hear from you. Yes, Tapanji.
Sir, before going to even the Sanatan Dharma, we must understand the growth of civilizations of the human being. If you look at this, a very ancient civilizations, that is the Sindh civilization or the Hindu civilization. I will not call it a Aryan civilization, or the Sumerian civilization, or the Assyrian civilization, or even Greek, Roman, and top of that the Egyptian pharaohic civilization. And if you look at that, even the American, the Inca and Ecuadorian civilization.
Right,
And one thing of all there is common of that, they grew when the human being grew,
right,
and they were all pagans. Pagans means they celebrated nature in the form of God. So all the natural elements became their gods. Like, the fire became the Zoroastrian god,
Right.
the fire became the Hindu gods, the clouds became also Hindu gods. Then, there's a cats became dogs, or some jackals also became the gods. That means in nature elements, they're basically the celebration of nature. And if you look at all these religions, they're not, I'll not say religion, they were also civilizations. They are, I will not say religion, they also had dharma. That is they had the spirituality was a way to guide them through their life. And even they thought in some cases, like Assyrians or Egyptians or Zoroastrians or even Hindus and all that, or the Romans or the Greeks, that they had it even guides to the future life, even after death.
Right.
So some places it was a mummification, some places that the definition of after death, because that death and life was a very complex subject. Yeah, but it is not was very much understood, and coupled to that, all these civilizations struggle with it, understanding the relationship between the consciousness and nature and life.
Okay.
These three verses so interlinked that the consciousness had no presence
Right.
except in the mind, where the life and the nature, they were coexisting elements in on the earth.
Right.
And you must know that this pagan religion, as a revolt to this, Egyptian pharaohic religion, then there came the Zodiac religion, which is led by Moses, and he was driven away, and it became the monotheism. And the Old Testament is their
That's the big.
book, and suddenly they came.
Right.
No, no, that if you have to have live a life, it should be commandments. Like Moses came with a 10 commandments of leading a life, and that gave rise to this monotheism, to the subsequent Abrahamic religions. There's a most Christianity and Muslims,
Muslims.
and from there on, it was a continuous war of the existence between the two philosophies of life. One is the pagan philosophies, where you celebrate nature and your coexistence with nature. Another case, it came with a commandment. What came with a Moses, a commandment and a book, then it became more and more stable. But if you see the basic structure, it remains same. And in the other civilization, the spirituality and the political power, they were not exactly interlinked. They existed side by side. In Abrahamic religion, the what is a really religion, which is a codified way of life. Others didn't have the codification. Here, the religion became supreme over the political power or the king's power.
Okay.
Now, this spread, and you must understand that when the Abrahamic religion spread, because the Abrahamic religion, because all both the religions are cratocratic. That
Yes.
might
Yes.
is right,
Yes.
and in the cratocratic powers, what they happen, whichever place they conquer, they used to conquer the basic citadel of power. And if you look at whether the Nile civilizations or the Egyptians or the Greek, Roman, or the Sumerian, Assyrian, or Zoroastrian, all these civilizations, because they basically came from the deserts, so their people used to live together in forted cities, or
Right.
you can say forts, and they were connected by roads. So when the this Abrahamic religion, I will not distinguish between two because both have
Yes.
destroyed at a different point of time, both destroyed together. And when they went to establish their supremacy, they first went into the annihilation of the basic pagan philosophies in the civilization,
Okay.
and in the process they attacked the forts, and the moment they attacked the forts the whole civilization got destroyed.
Right. Right.
And and it was very quick, like a Zoroastrian civilization was eliminated in 2.5 years
Right.
completely. They are surviving in India now under the name of Persis. Assyrians and Sumerians and Babylonians, they vanished very quickly. They did not,
True.
before you realize, they vanished quickly.
Yeah.
But when it came to Indian,
Yeah.
let's say, if you see the Indic civilization, they grew two ways. One is the Harappa Mohenjo-daro. It is a city-based
Yes.
civilization, and this town or city-based civilization, you see, they got the moment they met a natural disaster, the civilization get wiped out.
Right.
But there is another civilization, which people call
Concurrent,
Aryan
and
civilization,
that was concurrent because this urban civilization of Harappa and
urban.
Mohenjo-daro, it was also backed by
They're
the
urban,
agrarian and the rural economy because,
rural.
yeah,
But there was another civilization who people call it Aryan civilization, which I do not agree. That is
yeah,
also
yeah, that's
Gangetic
debatable. Yeah.
or Indic civilization, which is also coexistence with the Harappan civilization.
Yes. Yes.
And they had a one view that they didn't live in port structure or an urban structure,
Yes.
so-called urban, the concentration of population in a small area.
Yes.
Instead, they lived in villages, which is a basically rural on a agriculture dependent,
Right.
but their society was concentrated on temples. That temples was the meeting place. That was the also the place for banking. That is the place for exchanging pleasantries, and that is the place for exchanging marriage vows, and also the place for ceremony after death. Now,
Right.
the social interaction point was the temple or temple premises, but they were not the living places. When the Abrahamic religion invaders came to India, they came with a concept of force where people lived in a concentration. But when they came to this Gangetic plain and the Indic civilization areas, they mistook that temples as if the equivalence of force,
Okay.
without forgetting that they actually people lived in actually away from the temples, but the temple, so they went on, they applied the similar strategy,
So
destroying the
they destroyed, demolished, and
temples
plundered the temples. Yes.
temples and obviously when they destroyed temple, plunder was the associated things, and they burnt it, burnt even the libraries and everything. But Indic civilization has mastered two arts. One is that they're living in anonymity,
Yeah.
and second is
Me- mem-
transferring knowledge
Through memory.
through
Memory.
memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can eliminate the books, but
Yes.
the knowledge passing through generations that remains same,
Right.
and that came handy.
Yes.
And this part of civilization, they could survive. Even the temples got destroyed. That doesn't mean the social. It is only the interaction point destroyed.
Right.
The places of worship got destroyed, but their uh,
But the knowledge of,
actual social life
yeah.
living they did not destroy,
So,
and that is why they survived 1,000 years,
yeah.
both the Mughals
Yeah.
and before that Islamic, and that because these invaders came from all around, because India was one of the richest country, and then came the Britishers, then the
Right.
Dutch and French, all made the common mistake. Whether it's a Vasco da Gama, whether it is an Alauddin Khilji,
Right.
all made the common mistake, and that, but they could not wipe out because the civilizations remain in rural areas and the villages and among the agrarian community. And this agrarian community and the educated community, they lived side by side. There was no separation between them. And that is why they survived and they continued. They could be vanquished in places, but they could carry forward their ethos, their culture, their literature, their music, their dance, and most importantly, the worshipping the nature, because the very nature from which we are born and the very nature where we perish at the end.
We go back.
So that is how we survived, and it's a interesting look into this survival.
Right.
And probably this strategy had other civilizations adopted. Probably we could have seen some other pagan civilizations still surviving. Unfortunately, we are the only torchbearer of the ancient pagan civilizations.
Uh, Tapanji, you took a grand 360-degree view of with a historical perspective. You went back thousands of years, came to the Britishers and the present day India. You named three persons in history. You talked of Vasco da Gama, you talked of Khalji. One name that cropped up in between, I thought I should fill in the gap, and that was Aurangzeb. They tried to do immense harm. They tried to demolish so much, but at the end of the day, every follower of Hinduism, those who believe in the tenet of Hindutva and Sanatan Dharma, they should be proud of the fact that we are proud of our legacy, we are proud of our heritage, we are proud of our culture, and we continue to go strong. Thank you, Tapanji.